Hey everybody, welcome to Unit 5, Lesson 1, and we're going to be looking at Exploration 1 as well. So 5-1-1. And this is the start of the 5th unit. It's going to be focusing on the cell cycle and really talking about how our cells are going to copy, how our cells are going to duplicate, right? This part of the cell theory is that all cells come from previously existing cells. And so we're going to talk about how we can grow more cells. We know all living organisms start as one cell. However, the average human adult is going to be around 100 trillion cells. So how do we get there? Well, we take that one cell and we copy it into two. And then we take those two and copy them into four, and so on until we have a full organism. So as we scroll down, here's a quick little video that will show. So here is one cell, and it's going to go through the cell cycle, and it's going to get divided down the middle. Right here you can see it, and now it's going to be into two cells. But you notice that these two cells stick together. They stay combined. So now these two are going to divide into four. Now we're going to have four cells, those four into eight, eight into 16, 16 into 32, and so on. And so we're going to keep going, and they're going to keep copying. And then later on, they're going to start to take form and start to turn into cells that have functions. So there's a little bit of that process of how we're going to divide. So as we scroll down here, we're going to go ahead and go to the next. And this is the first part of Exploration 1, as you can see. So the stages of the life cycle, and that's what we're going to focus on. So as we scroll down, the stages of the life cycle, or the cell cycle, the cell cycle by definition is the pattern of growth, DNA replication, which is your DNA copying, and then cell division that occurs in a eukaryotic cell. So it's going to be broken down into three main parts. And the three main parts are interphase. Interphase is this green section. And it's going to go all the way around until to this point. So as you can see, interphase is actually going to take up about 75% of the cell cycle. Now that interphase is also going to be broken down into parts, but this is interphase. Then we're going to get mitosis, and mitosis is a series of 4 steps: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. And this is where the actual cell nucleus is going to divide. Okay, so that's where our DNA that has copied is then going to split into two parts, and they're identical. They're absolutely identical. And then cytokinesis is the very last step. It's the shortest step, and this is where your cell membrane is actually going to pinch together and split, where you're going to have the forming of two cells. So once again, you have interphase, which is this large part, you have mitosis, and then you're going to have this little division called cytokinesis. So as we scroll down here, it talks about the periods between these two stages were labeled G1 and G2. So when you come back up here, this right here, this S phase, it stands for synthesis, and this is where the DNA is actually going to be replicated or copied. So what's going to happen is you are going to go from 46 chromosomes to actually what we call 92 chromatids. And what that means is every single chromosome is going to double. So you're going to have one copy go to one cell, and the other copy is going to go to the other cell. And therefore, the DNA is going to be exactly the same in both cells that we make. So when we look at interphase right here, we're going to break it down into 3 parts. G1 is this first portion, and this is where we're going to replicate our organelles, but this is where we're actually going to kind of prepare our cell for dividing. Then we're going to copy our DNA, and then we're going to go to G2, which is a second growth, okay, which is kind of growth 2. And I think of it in my mind that G1 kind of stands for growth 1, and it's going to have these other functions. And G2 kind of stands for growth 2. All right, so that is interphase. So now we're talking about the cell cycle checkpoints. So we have G1, we have S phase, and then we also have G2 is another checkpoint. So when we talk about the rates of cell division, we're talking about how fast it will work. And it says in human cells, the G1, S, and G2 typically takes about 12 hours. Okay, so as we scroll down here we have the average lifespans for different types of cells. Your skin cells are going to live about 2 to 3 weeks before they're going to die and be sloughed off. This is also why we are consistently and continually making skin cells, and they kind of work like shark's teeth, that you make new ones underneath, and then as they work out towards the surface, they get sloughed off. Red blood cells are going to have a life of about 4 months, so we're consistently making new ones of those. Your liver cells are 10 to 18 months, and what you can tell is a lot of these they're always acting. Okay, and so then we're going to have your internal lining, and then you're going to have the muscular and other tissues of your intestines are going to be anywhere from 4 to 5 days. But here you've got 16 years. These are going to last a really long time. These are the muscle and the structural cells of your of your intestines. Okay, so as you can see, not all cells live the same amount of time. It has to do with their function, and it has to do with what they do and where they do it at. All right, as we scroll down, we're going to talk about G0. G0, it says these cells continue to carry out everyday functions, but they do not undergo the process necessary to divide. So they're going to stop. They're going to stop at G0. And I'm going to scroll up to that picture of the cell cycle. And G0, we're going to find somewhere about right here. Okay, right there. And the reason is because we want these cells to go through G1, but then they're going to stop. And they stop right before you copy your DNA. Because once you copy your DNA, once you get into this area, you have to go all the way through and divide, because you have twice of the DNA, twice the genetic material. So as we scroll down, back down to where we were, past G0, this is going to get us to the end of exploration 1. So, the main things to think about as we get into this one is that we have a cell cycle. And we're going to break down this cell cycle a little bit more. Sorry for me scrolling up. We're going to go to this cell cycle. Remember, interphase is made up of 3 parts, G1, S, and G2. And then we get into mitosis. Mitosis is what we're going to talk about in our future sections, but it's going to be prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And then the last part is cytokinesis. So the cell's going to start here, it's going to go all the way around, and it's going to end there. And we're going to end up with 2 cells, or twice the number of cells we've made. Thank you for joining me, and can't wait to see you guys in class.